And Aldrin, just take us through exactly what the judge has just outlined in as far as the state paying for former President Jacob Zuma's legal costs.
Oh, okay, let me just before we go through the order that has been set down by the court, just speak to the Democratic Alliance's leader, Mmusi Maimane, who is joining us now at the moment. Mmusi, this case was important for the DA from the get-go, even fighting to have the charges against the former president being reinstated. Just your initial remarks.
Look, I think it's a great day for the people of South Africa. South Africans at home now need to know that they don't have to keep paying for essentially a deal that was between Mr. Ramaphosa, Mr. Mbeki, and Mr. Zuma, where ultimately the ANC agreed that they would pay his legal fees. Now he has to pay it himself. It's a criminal case. It's a system of corruption. Now the pipeline has been cut. South Africans don't have to be funders of these cases, and we fought a strong battle. I celebrate the judgment. It's at least some Christmas for the people of South Africa that they don't have to pay for Mr. Zuma's legal fees. He has to pay himself, and more seriously, he has to pay back all the money that he wasted of the people of South Africa.
We also expect that the President's Council would want to appeal this court ruling. We've had a discussion early on with the Council of the President, and they said that this might be something that they will be looking into. If that is the case, and they do go ahead with an appeal application, would the DA also counter that appeal?
Let them do it themselves. You see, all we're simply asking is that the state should not pay. If the President's Council wants to go appeal this matter, I would hope
the former president,
the former president wants to appeal this matter, let them go ahead and do it at their own costs. But we are here to fight for the people. South Africans should not be paying for Zuma's delinquent behavior as a delinquent litigant. And therefore, ultimately, if they want to appeal this judgment, it sets a precedent. Because you will recall, there are many people who have been corrupt in the state, from Moyane to many others. And they depend on the ANC's government to be able to finance their legal fees. This sets a precedent to say all of those people must stop. And ultimately, the people of South Africa cannot be funding legal fees of criminals.
We haven't had an opportunity to go through the entire court case, but the entire court judgment. But as you said, that it does set a precedent. But also looking into the consideration that there are some former members of the executive in cabinet who may have been implicated in state capture. And this ruling basically says that when you've been implicated in a criminal matter, it is your personal case, and the state shouldn't get involved in paying.
The facts are, it's not even just in that case. We argued the principle of the State Law Attorneys Act to say that when it is a criminal matter, it is not the obligation of the people of South Africa to pay for that. And therefore, the enacting of these criminal cases that have been going on are primarily a function of an ANC protecting its own cadres. Now we have cut the pipeline. We have cut the ATM called the people of South Africa to the ANC. And what we're saying is that all of those who are in state capture must also be prosecuted. Let us cut a system of corruption, finish it, so that ultimately we can free up the resources for the benefit of the people.
Just quickly, a final one. On the issue of state capture, you've raised this issue as well, that the state shouldn't be paying for former President Jacob Zuma's counsel in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Will you be taking this matter up as well, based on this judgment?
On the basis of this judgment, we cannot continue. Let all the people who have been criminally involved in looting from the people of South Africa pay for it themselves. Let Jacob Zuma do so. Let every other criminal syndicate that is within the ANC actually pay for it itself.
Mmusi Maimane, thank you so much for your time. The leader there of the Democratic Alliance, Mmusi Maimane, responding to the judgment that has just been handed down. And as you've indicated, when the judge came through, he just said that he will be handing down the orders and wouldn't be going through the 45-page judgment that has been handed down by this court case. So I wouldn't be able to go into the nitty-gritties of exactly what the judge had to say in the judgment, or what the full bench of the Pretoria High Court has to say in the judgment, and how they arrived at the orders that has been handed down so far.
Aldrin, I noticed there at the court that the lawyer for former President Jacob Zuma, Mr. Daniel Mancha, was present there. Has he been able to give some kind of reaction to this? Is there any direction, legally speaking, in as far as which way they're going to go now?
Well, we were hoping to speak to him immediately after the judgment has been handed down, but of course now he has left the courtroom. But we do expect that the former President Jacob Zuma's counsel will be appealing this order that has been handed down here by the court. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how they will be doing that and on which grounds they will be appealing this ruling that has been handed down by the full bench of the High Court. And as I've indicated, of course, it is a 45-page judgment, and we all have not had the opportunity to go through this judgment that has been handed down. All we have for now is the orders that have been handed down by the court.
Yeah, Aldrin, before we quickly let you go, let's talk about the amounts that have been paid by the state thus far, in as far as the costs of the former President Jacob Zuma's legal fees. We have been talking about a figure of around 32 million rand. The judge very clear that steps must be taken now to recover those monies. Is that indeed the amount reflecting thus far that needs to be paid back?
Well, that's based on the assertion that has been brought in front of the court by the EFF. They're saying that the amount is around 32 million, but remember that the DA in their application saying that the amount is around 15 million, and this was based on President Ramaphosa's response to Parliament that 15 million had been paid so far. However, though, earlier last month, he did alter the amount and wrote to Parliament and said that actually the amount now is just above 16 million, so it's a 16.7 million if I'm not mistaken, the amount that has been paid so far, and this is according to the information that they received from the Department of Justice. But as you've indicated, the court and the judgment does indicate that now the state attorney must take all necessary steps to collate and find out exactly how much the state has paid in these court litigation processes relating to former President Jacob Zuma's corruption case, and then they must then come back to the court and then tell the court what steps will be taken to recover the money that has been used in these court cases.
All right, Aldrin Sampier, we'll give you some time to go through that 45-page document that you're saying makes up the sum total of this particular important judgment.